Yeah, if this was the case, wouldn't he try to punch Kamaru Usman in the head to knock him out?
Alright.
Put his fucking foot up to his head, dude. Then I'd actually give you something. If he like bent down,
If you were like just practicing his high kick, like, I'd be like, okay, you know what? You did God.
dude, give me your thoughts. You've seen that. You saw the match.
Dude, I mean, first of all, incredible. Like, probably the most incredible comeback I've seen in an MMA fight. Think about how many times we talk about how, like, okay, this guy is 2 rounds down, he needs a knockout to win. And, like, it never really happens. Like, really, let's just be real, it never happens.
Right.
It actually happened in a title fight against one of the most dominant welterweight champions ever.
Let me ask you this. So people are saying it's the greatest comeback win. And I'll admit that it's like he was down, he came back, and he won. So in the very most technical sense of the word, it is a comeback win. Okay. But the fact remains, I feel like I value adjustments and actually changing your strategy to force your will on the fight and get a win through like tactics rather than just...
Oh, yeah.
Because...
You're saying Stipe versus DC was a better comeback.
Stipe versus DC, Cejudo versus Moraes, those are the two that come to mind immediately.
Yeah, it's true. I will say I give a lot of credit to people who can adjust between rounds or during the round.
And this is the thing, man. The narrative about this fight is so off. It's like bizarre to me how weird people are acting about it. Because they're acting like there was a direct correlation between Leon Edwards' corner screaming at him to him coming out and finishing the fight in the 5th round.
Oh, yeah. I did see a post on Reddit like that, too. Like, oh, just that corner man's the best corner man. He could motivate me to fight my childhood bully and shit.
Okay, dude, that's a fucking sad post on Reddit.
Maybe if you're motivated by that, but Leon Edwards...
He was literally telling Leon to do that shit since the end of the 2nd round when Leon lost the fight.
He saw what was happening at the end of the 2nd round, and he was trying to get his fighter back in the game.
Right.
He wasn't really...
It was having no effect on him.
Even in the 4th round, he wasn't really fighting to win. It's just that he finally, because of Herb got the space to throw the combinations he wanted to throw instead of getting pressured against the cage. And he threw... Thing is, I'm not going to say fluky... Okay. Fluky win. I'm gonna say fluky win. Everyone's gonna get angry, right? And no strike in MMA is a fluke. It's all meant to hit. He did it. He meant to hit Usman with the head kick. But I can tell you this much: Leon Edwards was more surprised by the outcome than any of us. All right.
Yeah, dude, you're right. Dude, this is the thing.
Maybe not fluky, but like
it's definitely not a fluke. You can't say it's a fluke. But the reason that people want to call it a fluke is because Leon Edwards just found himself in that position. He didn't actually do anything proactively to put himself in a position to be able to finish Usman.
And he'd thrown that combination before. Or maybe not, I guess. Maybe not at that same
I don't think he threw that. I think he was talking about he threw a high kick before, and he thought that it could land on Usman. But it's not something that he was looking for throughout the fight.
I mean, he I guess he tried a whole new setup for the high kick with the hiding it with the left straight or whatever, and it worked this time.
So let's just give a little bit of context in case people haven't actually seen the fight. What happened was Edwards comes out, looks amazing in the 1st round, takes Usman down, the first one to take Usman down in I think Usman's entire career. Even Usman's one loss was like a rear naked choke. I don't think he was necessarily taken down.
No, he wasn't standing. It was the first official takedown. Colby did take him down, not even trying to. Not even Colby.
Yeah, but it's like a different kind of takedown. Colby.
It was the only one to establish more than 1 second of control.
Yeah, and is the only one who actually got any offense off on Usman because of a takedown. So he takes him down, lands directly into mount. Usman does the classic wrestler thing of turtling up, getting on his hands and knees and trying to stand up. Edwards takes his back from there, starts attacking rear naked chokes. Usman's definitely technically proficient enough to like defend rear naked chokes, and then Edwards like decides to go for a bit of ground and pound. And then after that, what would you say Usman's adjustments were to change how the fight was going after round one?
I mean, I don't even think Usman made any adjustments. It was more Leon Edwards gassed. The thing that hurt Usman round one,
Well,
he
what
was in
was
the same
Usman's
thing the
game
whole fight.
plan?
He was pressuring against the cage, pressing Leon against the fence, and looking for takedowns from there or clench elbows. By the way, Usman's clench elbows were beautiful, absolutely beautiful this fight. Um,
And also, dude, you can't overlook his body shots too. He
yeah,
was landing some
just the pressure against the
disgusting body
fence
shots.
was beautiful, getting around Leon's guard. He forces Leon into a purely defensive posture, and then he snipes. Not snipes, but he picks the right
Right.
shot. He
But
picked.
I mean, all technicalities aside, the biggest thing that I kept noticing, and I have like my reaction video on YouTube somewhere, you could find it, and I kept yelling, why is Leon Edwards moving straight back? He
I
just
know,
kept
straight.
moving straight back where he was between the black line and the cage. Usman was like towing the black line, just going body shot, elbow.
I
And
mean, that's the thing.
then,
In round one, he was doing better at skirting laterally, but
right,
he stopped. He just gassed. I mean, that's the thing. And then once he got to the clinch position against the cage, which is what he was doing the whole fight, even round one, Leon was less able to defend the takedowns, less able to counterattack, and the whole game plan falls apart for Leon. He's unable to get the space for his own combinations, while unable to also mount any offense or do any counterattacks, and even properly defend. Like,
right. And Usman was looking
not
amazing,
only was
dude.
he forced into a purely defensive posture, he wasn't able to even defend as well as he needed to.
Yeah. Usman's takedowns were looking like as good as I've ever seen them.
I know, dude.
Yeah, he was able to, like, usually fighters, I think elite
I
fighters
don't know what
have,
it is. Like, he got better or something. Like, compare that to Usman versus Masvidal one. Like, he was
yeah,
getting those fence takedowns even easier.
right. Yeah, I know exactly because I always assumed Leon Edwards had like amazing takedown defense because of course he's a super technical striker and especially up against the cage where it seems like a lot of elite guys excel at their takedown defense, and
Right.
Usman was just like pressuring him, using pressure on Leon Edwards' body to be able to like get his hands around his hips, scoop him up, and just dump him down. And then from there, he's just like ground and pounding him. Even if Edwards was getting up, he was doing a great job of leaning and wearing on him. He had that rear body lock position a lot against the cage. And that kind of brings me to my next point. We can't really talk about the fifth round before we mention the refereeing in this fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I think it is wild. It's honestly wild to me that the referee, after a very short amount of time against the fence, where work was being done, separates them, knowing like the thing in the referee's position is that he knows that's the only thing that gives Leon Edwards a chance. So like
I
it
know.
gives the referee a lot of agency.
It was about
On
at what, like 2 minutes left of the first round or the
yeah,
fifth round,
yeah, yeah.
and like Herb Dean had been making multiple, I would say, mistakes throughout the entire fight.
God,
It was kind of a dirty fight with a lot of fouls being done,
on
but the
both
way he
sides.
was actually enforcing those fouls was so inconsistent and
Inconsistent
kind,
and there's no deterrent. So basically, if you saw
yeah,
inconsistently, he would like see a glove grab and take the hand out, or he would
or
see
like
a fence grab and
yeah.
reset the position, whatever. That happened once, even though there were several blatant fence
Both
grabs.
guys grabbed the
That
fence
was
multiple times.
several before that, and they changed the way the fight was happening, and those weren't reset. Those are even before. Like Leon Edwards grabbed the fence to stop a takedown. The glove grabs. The problem is like, yeah, you can take the hand out of the glove, but the 1 second I had my hand in the glove stopped something from happening.
I
It,
know.
so the problem is like, okay, you warn them, you stop it. You warn them, you stop it. There needs to be fouls given. There needs to be. I mean, you can't ref fights like this. I
Yeah.
don't know. To be honest, I think I like. To me, the real narrative of this fight was the referee failing to enforce fouls, which, to be honest, I did think benefited Leon more, especially by stopping a takedown earlier. And then the referee separating them, taking away a sure win from the champion.
That was crazy to me, dude. That was actually crazy to me.
That was crazy.
Usman is a
That was
known
crazy, man. The
dude.
separation in the fifth round was absurd. I mean,
I was so. This is one thing no one's talking about. That separation literally lost Usman the fight. Okay,
yeah,
Usman is a
literally.
known wrestler. He had gotten multiple takedowns from that position earlier in the fight, and he was also throwing foot stomps, knees to the quad, like shoulder strikes, and like he had shown an ability to get the takedown from that position. So you can't separate them from there because you know he's working for takedowns. Not to mention, this isn't some fucking like unranked heavyweight fights where it's two dads getting off the couch and they're just leaning on each other and
This
the
is the
audience is
legacy
booing.
of a dominant welterweight
This is
champion
literally the
who's on
pound
his
for
way.
pound best fighter currently in the world,
He's on his way to becoming the GOAT,
fighting
honestly.
against the, I would say, number one ranked contender. And he's fighting for GOAT status, and you fucking separate. Like, dude, honestly, the audacity of Herb Dean to, like,
I
put
know.
himself into that position pissed me off to no end. And I cannot believe
Exactly.
that Joe Rogan didn't say anything.
Yeah, he always calls it out. But the thing is, like, I mean, I understand why. It was just like the fight, because everyone expected it to be irrelevant. At the moment, he was just like, it's irrelevant, and Leon's going to lose
But
anyway.
still, dude, like, I don't think I don't think there's any precedent for separating fighters at championship fights.
Well, here's the thing.
Like, we've seen Usman
I
do
don't think
boring
I don't think the
performances
rules should
before.
be enforced differently for champion fights versus unranked. Like, the rules are the rules. You have to enforce things
Well,
basically the same way, in my opinion.
well, they
But like,
are enforced differently, though.
I know. Like, and this is stated by referees. This is stated explicitly.
Yeah.
And I think, first of all, that's a huge problem in the sport.
I mean, I agree.
Regardless,
I think maybe there should be
regardless, like
amateur rules that are different.
in what sport? In what sport is there? I think. Oh, this is getting into a whole other discussion, but like, I don't even think championship fight should be different number of rounds or whatever. But
Wait.
whatever. I'm not even.
Oh, a different number of rounds? Yeah, that is weird.
I don't know in what sport the championship fight or like the final game or whatever,
Dude,
anything.
at
Championship
least it's
game.
better than
Yeah.
BKFC, where if you draw, you go to a sixth round when the fight is over.
Yeah, they did draw. Yeah. No, it's better than that. But well, this is getting the whole other discussion. Regardless, I think that people are overlooking these things because they're happy for Leon. All right, that's what it amounts to. They're really like
You're
the
totally right
comeback
with that.
story. They let the comeback story of a guy who came from the trenches and won a UFC championship. And obviously that's an awesome story. And they're super happy for Leon.
Yeah, and the fact
I
that
like
Herb Dean was separated them wasn't his fault, and is in fact a
it's
testament to how technically good he is. Where even when he was gassed, he still was technically proficient enough to stop Kamaru Usman's takedown and at least stall him up against the clinch. But we cannot deny that he got extremely lucky with having a referee in Herb Dean who is willing to separate clinched fighters up after like 5 seconds of, I don't know, not punching each other in the face. It's like, it's not even like Usman wasn't doing anything. And let's just be explicit about this. Herb Dean separated them, and that allowed Leon the space that he needed to throw that combination. Because he
No. That combination was not possible without separation.
right.
Even if Leon got away from the cage, he would have still gotten pressured back into the fence.
Like, dude, I've heard so many bad takes, and I want to go through this one take with you because I think this is honestly the most egregious of the takes of like all of the ones that I've seen. But really, it like again, the simplest solution is most often the correct solution. And the simplest solution is Leon Edwards is an amazing fighter. He has perfect technique drilled into him. He knows what technique to throw, when to throw it. But in that fight, he was broken. He was being pushed up against the cage consistently, simply defending Usman's takedowns. You don't have to just not fight back at all to be considered broken. His goal had changed in that fight. His goal had changed from finishing Usman to not getting finished himself.
I would argue he wasn't really even mounting any meaningful offense for the entirety of the 4 minutes of round 5 before the separation, three and
Right.
a half, 3 minutes or whatever, and the entirety of round 4.
It wasn't the corner advice that fired him up and caused him to have a shift in mindset that had him come out there and like just walk Usman down. It wasn't that he was trying to get a headshot KO and he was just waiting for
No,
the perfect opportunity.
this is bullshit. I will say that it's a testament to how important technique is, how bad the brawler style is. And
I know.
I
You're right.
mean, Leon Edwards was gassed, broken.
And dude,
But the thing is, when he throws, the technique is drilled into his muscle memory so fine tuned that
yeah.
his combinations are still perfect,
And
even when he's fatigued.
I think
If he
that's a
has the
better
energy to throw it, it's
compliment
perfect.
to
Of
Leon
course,
Edwards than saying he was like fired up or that he was waiting for a shot. He was tired. He was broken mentally, physically. He had no cardio left, and yet he still had the will to throw strikes, which you can't really say for a lot of guys that are in that position. I mean,
exactly.
Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili comes to mind.
Yeah.
Also, like Vittori versus Izzy, Cannonier versus Izzy. When you're down, I feel like when fighters are down, a lot of fighters just don't want to do anything, and they just want to
They
not
fight to
get
not
finished.
lose. They fight to not get finished,
Right.
right?
And
That's what to me
it's a
that's
testament to Leon. Like even while being broken like that, he's still throwing strikes and with perfect technical precision.
and that's the real thing that impressed me about Leon. I mean, I don't want to
Right.
sound too negative towards Leon, because honestly, I think it was amazing. It was amazing.
Dude, it was like fuck, dude. I feel like someone
But I just think
died.
the narrative. I think that I may be overcorrecting because the narrative is very skewed about this fight.
The narrative's
And like,
insane. And
let's be
dude,
real.
let's go over this one,
In the
okay?
trilogy fight, I would favor Kamaru Usman by a lot.
It depends. I have a couple of but dude, let's just go over the first few minutes of this video, okay? I think we
God,
both seen it.
it's painful, dude. It's painful.
It's so painful. Okay, I have a lot of respect for the Weasel. He has some he has some like good takes, I guess I would say. But he's been God, dude. He's had some really bad takes. Some really bad ones.
We got my headphones here too, so our audio doesn't get fucked up.
Okay. Like dude, I'm pretty sure he picked Conor McGregor to beat Dustin Poirier in their trilogy fight.
In the trilogy fight?
In the trilogy fight.
Why?
I don't know, dude. But remember, Dan Hardy also picked Connor.
MMA is a crazy game, man. It's not over
Are you
until
getting
it's
feedback
over.
from
And you
my-
cannot
my
count out a
laptop?
man who
No,
comes
I'm
out of the
not.
gutter like Leon Edwards
Okay,
out
good.
like that. He may be down, but a guy like that is never out that easily.
All right, let me
Leon
know if you want me to
Edwards
pause it to
knocked
comment.
out Kamaru Usman in the 5th round to make it one of the greatest comebacks in UFC history against one of the most accomplished fighters the UFC's ever had. I mean, Kamaru Usman was reaching records. Everybody thought he'd clean out the division, lapping the division twice, all this stuff. One of the most dominant forces we've ever seen. And
I mean, I definitely agree with him so far. I think that the finishing of and the fact that it was Kamaru Usman makes it a better comeback than it would have been if it was just like a regular title fight. But the fact that it was the number one guy and the guy that a lot of people had picked to beat GSP and Anderson Silva as like GOAT status got finished is crazy.
fight was going his way.
And one other comment I have about this is that it just shows how ridiculously hard it is to have such consistent performances all the time.
Consistency is the king, man. Consistency is the
Yeah.
king.
Consistency is king.
All the other metrics can go out the window when it comes to GOAT status.
Yep.
Kamaru Usman was taking Leon down, controlling him, landing some good shots all over the place. Hit him with some really good elbows off of the clinch that Leon didn't really expect. He was guarding the punches well, but the elbows were getting through. He was landing some really good shots, and the fight was going his way entirely. The takedowns were getting much easier, and it seemed like Leon started to get a little bit tired, maybe due to the elevation. They're fighting in Utah, and the air is going to be thinner. It's going to be harder to breathe.
Everyone
and
was
cardio
getting
is going to
tired
be
in
worse
this card.
here than in most other places.
Except Usman.
And Usman was taking advantage
His
of that,
Holocaust
as
is,
Usman is always training in
well,
elevation. He's used to the air. He's used to that. And a lot of people are counting Leon out. The commentators especially, Dean Thomas, DC, Joe Rogan, they're all saying that it looks like Leon may be mentally checked out or he's breaking. But if they really pay attention to what was going on, Leon was never just sitting on the ground. Leon was always attempting.
Dude, okay, this is a fucking straw man. He's like, Leon wasn't breaking because he wasn't just sitting on the ground.
But that's not the warrant everyone is giving for why Leon was breaking. They were giving that. They're saying he was breaking because he looked dejected in the corner. After the rounds, he went right to the cage to lean on it, which is a clear sign of fatigue. And he wasn't mounting any offense.
Not mounting any offense is the biggest thing in my opinion. He was being solely defensive. And you can defend and like still be broken. You're not trying to win the fight if you're just defending.
I would call Cannonier's cage work against Izzy broken. Like, that's a broken fighter right there. You can even be doing good things, but if you're not fighting to win, it's a sign that you're being broken.
I mean, I get this is an instant reaction, but he's really basically saying that if you just haven't completely given up and like tapped out to strikes, that you're not broken.
Exactly.
And dude, this is the guy who says that submissions are people admitting defeat. He's like, I remember when Conor came out with like, oh, submissions aren't real wins. He's like, oh, but if you can make someone submit to you, or no, I think he was talking about Justin Gaethje. Yeah, he actually released a video after Gaethje versus Oliveira. He's like, Gaethje called Oliveira a quitter, but then Oliveira tapped him out. So who's the quitter now?
I mean, submissions, I guess they're quitting, but like,
dude,
when you're getting choked out.
Dude, it's actually one of the stupidest fucking videos I've ever seen from him. This is like, I don't know, man. Obviously, his bad takes are going to stick in my mind more than his good takes, but like, he's had some really bad takes.
I'm realizing, like, that's like a classic. In my head, I always thought, like,
I mean, dude, that's such a casual opinion.
It's a thing. No, you know what? Who has opinions? It's like the Gracie style jiu-jitsu people, like the hardcore jiu-jitsu.
If you have me in like an ankle lock, I just won't tap.
Exactly, I won't tap.
Or a heel hook, you can just shred my knee.
Or just the classic, like, I would rather go to sleep than tap. I would rather go to sleep than tap.
I tap out before I pass out before I tap out.
Like, and the thing is, I'm realizing like how extreme that opinion is, because like even at my jiu-jitsu gym, no one fucking says that shit.
Yeah, it's asinine. Yeah, dude, I don't know. He's had okay. Let's just continue it. So basically, bad take 1. Leon Edwards hasn't given up because he hasn't just been sitting on the ground. Not to mention that Leon Edwards was like on his ass for multiple minutes of time throughout this fight.
Attempting to get up. He never just gave positions up. He never just allowed Usman to hit him. He never allowed
not getting finished.
What?
And that's why he resigned himself to not getting finished. And that's why he was working to get up.
Yeah.
That's why he was being defensive. That's why he was doing everything he was doing, because he wanted to get out with a decision loss, rather.
And I was saying that exact thing while watching the fight live. Like, you could see it.
Yeah, you could see it. It's very clear with the way he was fighting.
Right.
He would expend a lot of energy to get up and prioritize that. But like, once he was up, he was very defensive. He stayed against the cage because people feel secure against the cage because they think it's a way to get up again.
And the Weasle in this video just seems to be taking like a purposely obtuse view on the fight, saying that like there's only one way of being given up or being broken, and that's if you're not even fighting against positions. It's like, no, you can defend against positions, but you're not. He's like never actually tried to win rounds or anything.
Jesus Christ, that's shot of Usman. Look at his fucking delts. Anyway.
I know, Jesus, dude. He's fucking jacked. All right, let's just continue.
Usman do any of that. Leon constantly was fighting back to get in a better position throughout the whole fight, and someone who's doing that is by definition not checked out of the fight. He is attempting to do something here. There was also something else about Leon Edwards.
not
Notice
the
his
definition,
accuracy.
not-
Notice the stats. He landed nearly...
I think the commentators were saying he has resigned himself to a decision loss. He's trying to.
You can still go through the motions of a fight, and like
you can argue semantics, but like that's exactly what Din Thomas was trying to say. Like he's just trying to not get finished, and I would say if you're resigning yourself to a decision loss, that's giving up.
Yeah.
There's no extra points to losing by finish versus losing by decision. Like there's no extra credit you get there.
But there is in a fighter's head.
I guess there is in terms of like jockey.
Well, I mean,
you know,
in a lot of fighters' heads, it's like if I just lose by decision, that's better than if I had gotten like embarrassed out there.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Like, and the thing is, I kind of hate it because in some sense, I feel like they might be right in that you get more opportunities if you can like make the case for yourself.
It really depends, right?
It just the MMA politicking kind of gets helped by that. But
Like,
that's why I hate the architecture of the sport. Because
if it's like
people
Colby
don't feel like
versus
a true game.
if it's like Colby versus Usman 1, where it's a back and forth fight, but Colby still got finished, that's a better like meta performance. Like that's worth more than maybe Cannonier versus Izzy, where Cannonier didn't get finished, but it was a boring fight and he got like dominated nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I don't know. I mean,
It's not a hard and fast rule.
It's not a hard and fast rule, but like, yeah, whatever. You know, it's easy to rationalize. That's the thing. Like when you're fatigued, you're rationalizing bad decisions. That's the stuff that's going through.
I also don't think you're thinking about your career trajectory. I think it's just like I don't want the pain or the submission of me losing this fight and getting it actually finished.
I do think your head will play tricks on you when you are.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, we're only a minute and 40 into this video. Let's continue.
Every single strike that he threw. The unofficial stats have Leon Edwards landing 73% of his strikes. And we do know that a lot of times when they're counting stats...
Huh?
He barely threw any strikes. I mean, look at the strike count, 85 to 247. I mean, this is...
64 to 189?
Landed in terms of attempted.
Oh, yeah, 85 to 247.
So, like, yeah, he has a high striking accuracy, but that's because there's very little junk volume because he doesn't have the room to throw any junk volume.
I know, yeah.
He's throwing short strikes against the cage. Like, those aren't
holy
meaningful
shit.
strikes in terms of finishing the fight or winning him rounds, but they're gonna land.
Yeah, geez,
So,
Usman was like almost 3 times, like pretty much 3 times the output that Edwards had.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, it's almost there. Yeah, 3 times the output. He's 8
Or
strikes.
I
short
guess
of
the
it.
landing.
But the output matters. Like it's just like boxing, dude. The out.
I know.
In the vast majority of cases, fighters that throw more will win more.
And fighters that throw more will land at a lower accuracy rate. Because a lot of those strikes are like jabs or feints. As the Weasle will even say here.
Yeah.
They're looking at even the feints as strikes. So the
Anyway,
Yeah.
that argument's so easy to beat. Like this argument's just ridiculous.
He's like, they're looking at even the feints as strikes. Okay, but that also applies to Usman, so it's a moot point.
Exactly.
Unless you're saying like Edwards throws a significant amount of feints. But even then, dude, his output would be even lower.
I'm just saying, like he doesn't even have the ability to throw feints in the positions he was in this fight. So like,
Right.
yeah, whatever. The accuracy might be inflated, but it's still a reflection of how the accuracy might not be inflated, but it's still a reflection of how low his output is to begin with.
Yeah. And that's a testament to how Usman's game plan was working in this fight.
And it's uncharacteristic.
Accuracy
low.
was
Like, if you look at his other fight, it's not that low. I can guarantee it.
Right.
even higher. All the major strikes Leon Edwards was throwing was landing. This is something very similar to when you see from Marlon Vera. People think
this is just like a self-fulfilling prophecy. All of the major strikes were landing. It's like, okay, so the strikes that missed weren't major strikes?
Yeah, it's like if you miss a strike, it's not going to be a major strike. It's not going to land, so you're not going to know.
Yeah.
Oliveira's losing fights, and then he just catches opponents later in the rounds. When Leon threw, when he committed, he would land, so he knew as well about the head kick. If he was going to throw the head kick, he was confident that it was going to connect. This sniping kind of style
His
is
head kick missed
extremely
multiple
dangerous.
times that fight. He was looking for the head kick the whole fight. Whenever he had the chance to, like whenever he had the chance to the open, he was throwing head kicks.
Also, dude, tell me how this makes sense. It's like Leon Edwards throws a right hand that connects. He's like, okay, my right hand connected, so I know my head kick's gonna land. So just because you can land one type of strike doesn't mean you can automatically land any kind of strike you throw. Unless I'm just like completely insane. Okay, so he's just saying that like Leon is accurate. I mean, this is all.
We're 2 minutes 15 seconds in. This is already so painful.
Dude, this is just him. This is just all him building up like support for his thesis, which we're gonna get to soon.
Dangerous, and you can never count people like that out in a fight. So it wasn't that Leon was breaking, looking for a way out. He was just patient. He was
Dude, this fucking killed me so much. This part.
Dude, are you kidding me? He's down 3 rounds and he thinks he's being patient because he landed a strike with the minute of the fight remaining. Dude, he was this close to losing that fight.
Dude, this is where like the only phrase that comes to mind is that the Weasel's high on his own supply right now. He's just like getting so much smoke blown up his ass by like his subscribers and the people that comment on his videos saying he's amazing.
Not to mention, patiently like throwing less output and looking for the knockout blow is literally the worst strategy in all of combat sports.
Dude, I know.
Any striking sport.
It's actually
Any fucking striking sport.
Yeah. It's just how you
One thing he
lose.
said, like, oh, he's conditioning Usman, and then he's like patiently setting up a high kick. But no, there was no like traps he was
I
setting.
know, dude. It's not like he's even dictating where the fight was taking place. He literally was walking forward, putting himself in a position to finish the fight. A, because the ref separated them, and B, because Usman was taking like his foot off the gas just a little bit and allowing Edwards to come forward. There was nothing Edwards was doing that was pushing Usman backwards. I actually think if you go back and watch through that fight, like I don't recall a single point of time where he did something that made Usman go backwards. Even when Edwards was throwing teep kicks and like long sideways jabs to the body, Usman would just eat it and then come forwards and pressure him up against the cage more.
Yeah.
Like Herb Dean separated them, and then Usman, and then they were like standing there, and Usman started slowly backing up, allowing Edwards the space needed to actually throw that kick. It was, if he was being patient for Herb Dean to do that, then I guess he's just like playing 5D chess.
The 40 chess.
But again, this is just a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's unfalsifiable because you can say he was just being patient, and like if he had lost, oh well, he was just being patient, or like, let alone that.
I mean, it's impossible to disprove a mindset that he's trying to go in with. Aside from the fact that, I mean, you can make several arguments against it. One, it's a bad strategy, and he would know not to do that.
Bad strategy. He didn't show any signs of that being his strategy at all in any of the other 24 minutes of the fight.
He wasn't setting up the high kick using feints or like traps throughout the fight
to get into the position to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And he was, and number 4, after the footwork point, is that he wasn't even able to be on the feet or like get in the open. So like,
he didn't show an ability to actually
placed in order to land a knockout point.
Right. And dude, all that aside, like even in his interview with Errol Hawani or his post-fight press conference, he never mentioned going for a head kick KO or just a KO in general.
This is the part that made me stop watching the video.
Okay, dude, we got to continue it.
Looking for his opportunity. That's all it was. That's what you ask from a sniper.
That's all it was. He was just looking for his opportunity. He didn't make it. He wasn't like talking about it as part of his game plan. He's never shown that game plan in any of his other fights where he's gotten one punch knockouts.
It literally fell into his lap. It fell into his lap.
I mean,
right?
dude, maybe he's
It,
just believes in luck, man. Maybe Leon Edwards. I mean, he did say
he's
that
gonna
God
be the
was on his
lottery.
side. Maybe he thought God came down from the heavens and bestowed this opportunity to him in the form of Herb Dean separating them. God, dude. Also, the fact that Leon Edwards has never really knocked out people before. How can he? How can this guy be saying that this was his game plan to just wait patiently for an opportunity to knock his opponent out? This is like fucking pissing me off. All right, let's continue.
Snipers aim for the perfect shot, and that's exactly what Leon did, and it opened up in the 5th round. Now you probably
Let me ask you, dude. Is he a sniper?
Is he a sniper? I mean, he's very accurate. He is very accurate when he has the
I
space to
think
do.
he's like been called a sniper before. I seem to recall in the Blachowicz fight, he was called like a sniper versus a tank. Does Izzy wait for his perfect shot? Or does he actually use a game plan to be proactive and make opportunities happen for himself?
Well, Izzy is a sniper. Izzy, people call him a sniper because he has that line that's like, I don't hope and throw. I
Yeah,
aim and fire, something like that, or whatever he says.
right.
And it's kind of true. I mean, he just maintains a longer range than people can
The
hit him
fact
or actually
remains,
snipe from the
Izzy's
outside.
game plan is built around his striking, and he's actually is proactive with getting people into positions to land his shots. Look at Conor McGregor, dude. Probably one of the best known snipers in MMA with his left hand. Literally
I
all of
might be
his
getting into
game.
semantics, I guess, but when people say sniper, I envision a person with long range, like a very long reach,
Yeah.
and one who maintains a distance such that only he can touch his opponent, and then he just throws accurate strikes from the outside. Like that's what I think a sniper is.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, I
I guess
mean,
that's what I think it is.
I guess I just feel like technical strikers who like to
No,
land a
but
lot.
like
I feel like Conor McGregor is a perfect example of a sniper since
he
he
has the
always.
reach to make him a sniper. Michael Olajaychuk, I wouldn't say he's a sniper because he's just brawling. He's bobbing,
Well,
weaving, going
yeah.
to the inside, throwing uppercuts, throwing like his looping shots. That's not a. It's straight shots that make a sniper a sniper.
What? Yeah, but dude, Conor McGregor always like corrals people and throws that
No,
left
no,
hand.
I agree. Conor McGregor is a
Oh
really good
yeah,
is a sniper. Yeah, but
right.
like I wouldn't say just technical striking makes you a sniper. It's a specific
Yeah,
style.
yeah, yeah. You have to be kind of like keep that longer range. Okay, but dude, like the point I'm trying to make is that real guys who have the sniping, like the quote unquote sniping game plan, at least at the top level, use other parts of their game plan to set them up into a position where they're able to effectively snipe at their opponents. Let's take a look at Conor McGregor. He uses footwork to push people into the fence so he can follow them up with his left hand. He also
Yeah.
uses teep kicks and like spinning kicks and shit. Look at Izzy. He uses leg kicks, he uses body kicks, and he also is just like very good at using footwork feints and
Yeah,
jabs
exactly.
to get people into position. Izzy's also really good at drawing people in, getting off the center line and like throwing lean back hooks when they're moving in on him. I would consider that sniping. What did Leon Edwards do here to actually set up his game plan of sniping? If the Weasle is correct and this was his game plan all along, he has nothing to set up his game plan. Okay?
Exactly.
I
Yeah, I mean, I would 100% agree with that. And yeah, I mean, I'll get into like what I would think about for the next matchup later on, but like
right.
that's kind of part a lot to do with my thoughts.
All right, let's just continue because there's only 30 seconds left I can take of this video.
ask me, how do I know that Leon was thinking this? How do I
Great question. How do I know that this was Leon's mindset?
How do
know
you
that
know,
this was his
Weasel?
approach? This was his mentality going into the fight, that he was going to be looking for the one big shot. Which is
Also, before we continue, this is the same guy that said that Dustin Poirier was going to lose for sure because he crouched when Conor McGregor crouched in their face-off.
Dude, the body language shit was so cringe, and like I swear to God, it only happens with a couple fighters, and it just tells me how culty their fan base is.
Dude,
When Conor
armchair
McGregor's
psychologist
fucking
Weasel here, man. Let's
like,
let's see.
it
Let's
just like, but it's only with a couple fighters too. It's only with fighters who like project confidence. Like Conor McGregor's so good at
like Conor McGregor's fan base.
I mean, Conor McGregor himself is very good at projecting the confidence and
Masvidal's
convincing.
fan base is pretty cringy too.
Yeah, I don't even know if he has any fans left though.
Dude, yeah. All right, let's just continue this.
It's actually something he doesn't normally
Really,
do in
dude.
fights. Notice
Did he lose?
before the fight even happened,
Hold
he
Hold
told
on. What did he say?
fifth round. Now you probably ask me, how do I know that Leon was thinking this? How do I
Armchair
know that this was
psychologist
his
Weasle.
approach? This was his mentality going into the fight, that he was going to be looking for the one big shot, which is actually something he doesn't normally do in fights.
Yes, it's
Notice
not something he normally does in fights.
before the fight even happened, he told everybody what his plan was. As Bruce
He told everybody what his plan was. So was this at the pre-fight press conference or something, or like in an interview, or maybe like an expose behind the scenes video on his YouTube channel with his coaches? Let's see.
Buffer's calling his name out to the world. Leon
Oh, it was when Bruce Buffer was calling his name out.
He told everybody what his plan was. As Bruce Buffer's calling his name out to the world, Leon calls a headshot.
Dude, this part fucking killed me.
This is the part where I had to stop, dude. What fighter doesn't call knockouts, especially when they're strikers?
Also, dude,
Every single one does that every time. It doesn't mean that the plan all along. It doesn't mean anything. It's air. Like when fighters say that at this point, it goes in one ear and out the other. It's that airy to me. It
dude,
doesn't
also,
mean-
holy fuck. Is he even calling a headshot, or is he just putting his hand up to his head? That's not even like necessarily
If he
calling a
hit punch,
headshot.
I mean,
Yeah, if this was the case, wouldn't he try to punch Kamaru Usman in the head to knock him out?
come on, man.
Put his fucking foot up to his head, dude. Then I'd actually give you something. If he like bent down,
Yeah, if he was like just practicing his high kick, like I'd be like, okay, you know what? You did call it.
dude, yeah. Holy shit.
That reminds me, dude. You know what doesn't get enough credit?
What?
When Gordon Ryan like wrote down triangle and then triangle the opponent.
Oh yeah. I actually watched that match. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Dude, and the commentary
that?
completely
Hold on.
underplayed it too. They're like, oh,
No,
Gordon
the
Ryan
comments
gave us this.
Yeah, exactly. The comment was like, oh my god, okay, next.
Yeah, they're like, okay, that was interesting. I'm like,
That's the
Jesus
most interesting thing
Christ.
that happened, including it's more interesting than the jiu-jitsu match itself.
Dude, sometimes I feel like jujitsu commentary, like sometimes I feel like jujitsu matches take place in libraries because it feels like they're trying their best to be as quiet as possible.
I don't know, they have no audience, probably.
Dude, even
like,
John Danaher's
literally
just
the most
sitting there like,
badass thing I've ever seen. But that's just his persona. But dude, that's like the most badass thing I've ever seen, right? And like the commentator is underplayed it so like.
I mean,
so
it'd be more
heavily.
interesting if this was a more niche submission because you could like arm triangle someone.
Oh come on! Fine, it gives you two possible outcomes.
No, but dude, I will admit that the triangle he got was very impressive because
Yeah, it was there.
he was in full mount for a long part of that fight, and then the guy escaped, and he was still able to get a triangle on, which I thought was really cool. Okay, anyway, is there any more of this I can take? Dude, the thing is, like, I wanted this was a pretty bad take, but like it was his first reaction, snap take, whatever. But the fact is, he built this up so much. He was talking about like, oh, he was just his accuracy was so high. He was just being patient. And how do I know that this was his mentality? How do I know that this was his mindset? Because he put his hand up to his head before the fight. And because of that, everything that the commentary was saying is wrong. All fan reactions are wrong. And like everyone else that thought that Leon Edwards was broken or that Usman was actually winning the fight is wrong. Edwards was just being patient.
Puts his hand up to his head, makes a gesture, just like he did after the fight where he knocked Usman out with a headshot. And that showed his mentality going into the fight. His whole thing of winning was, I'm going to KO this guy. My plan is not to go to a decision like...
Literally every fighter says that. Okay, I'm done with this video.
I know. I mean, when he was starting to use that as evidence for like this was his plan the whole time, I'm like, dude,
What fighter is like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to leave this up to
it's
the
a heavy
judges.
reach.
I have a lot of faith, like, Sal Diamoto is judging my fight. I've heard he's like really good. He went to a training seminar. I have a lot of faith in him. I think that these judges are gonna do me right. It's like, what, dude? What are you saying? Holy shit!
Yeah, that was rough, man. That was honestly painful. That was painful. Yeah. Weasle. I used to fucking love the Weasle too. When I got into MMA, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna watch every single Weasle video. That's kind of how I got into the technical side of the sport.